Hello and welcome back. Now that we have the seed data function, let's create the controller. So I'll go to my controllers folder and I'll create a seed.ts file. Okay. And then here we can just create a function called gig async requests of type request, and then response of type response, and promise void. Okay, here, and then we can export this. Now for this, what we are going to do is simple. We are just going to publish and consume. Okay, so this method itself, we are going to use it in our consumer. Okay, so let's go to our consumer, that is queues, and then consumer. Remember we said here we will use the seed data function. Okay, so this is where we need to use it. So go to your consumer, that is the consume seed direct messages. So I'll wait, and then here I'll call seed data, but we also need to get what we want from the function. Okay, so the function is going to, we are going to get sellers and count equal to json.pass msg.content.toString, and then we need to pass those properties into this function. Okay, so here is where we need to call our seed data. Now let's look for where we need to where we are publishing this. Okay, so in the user consumer. Okay, so this is where we are publishing. So to just get recap what the process that is involved in this. Okay, here in the gig controller, okay, we are going to publish a message. Okay, so const count, we get the count from request.params, and then we are going to publish a message. So we'll say publish direct message. Okay, we are going to publish a message to the user service, telling the user service that, okay, I need some sellers. I need the document for this particular number of sellers. Okay, whatever the count number is. So if the count number is 10, so we send a message to the user service saying, okay, I need 10 random sellers. Okay, the document for 10 random sellers. Okay, so we publish the event here, and I'll call gig channel, and then jobber-gig. This is the exchange, and then get-sellers and json.stringify, and then here the message will be gig seed message sent to user service. Okay, and then inside here I'll pass the type, an object with type. I'll call this get sellers, and then the count. So what is happening here, when this controller method is called, we are going to publish a message. If this count is 5 or it's 10, we publish a message to the user service, telling the user service, okay, we need 10 documents of 10 different random sellers. Okay, so we publish the message, and then the message is consumed here. Okay, so you can see the queue, the exchange name, and the routing keys, they match what we have right here. Okay, so the user service will consume the message, and then if it says if type is equal to get sellers, that is what we have right here. Okay, oh, sorry, that's what we have right here. Okay, so the seed or the gig service seed method, we ask for 10 random sellers documents. Okay, so here we get the count, and then we use the count to get the random sellers. So it returns the random sellers as this iSeller document array, and then we publish the result back to the gig service. Okay, this is where we are publishing the result back. And then if we go to our gig consumers, you can see here, this is where we are consuming the messages from the users. Okay, so the message published from here, this is where we are consuming it, and then it contains the sellers array and the count, and then we pass it into this seed data function. Okay, so that is just how it works. So here we publish, but this consume direct message, let's see if we used it here. Let me see if I used it here. I think I will need to remove it from here. I think I made a mistake. This is not supposed to be consumed here, so I will just copy this, comment this part out, delete from here. Okay, so once we publish, then we should be able to consume. Well, we can still leave it there. I think it's possible, but let us just consume here. Okay, consume the messages. Okay, so we publish the message, and then the result, we are going to consume it right here. And in the consumer, we are calling the seed data function. Okay, down here I'm going to call res.status, and this is going to be status codes dot created dot JSON. We don't need to worry about this because we are not sending it to the front end. Okay, I'll just say message, and then the message will be gig created successfully. Okay, so this is what we need inside the seed data controller. We publish the message asking the user consumer for some random sellers information or document, and then once it is returned, we consume the message and then add them to the database. Okay, so now that we have this, we can go ahead and add it to our route. Okay, so this gig function, so go to your routes, gig, and then down here I can do that as a put request. Okay, so I'll call the method gig import. Now this is going to be seed /: count. The count could be 5, it could be 10, depending on the number that you want to create. Okay, so now at this point we've added all the controllers and also the routes that we want in our gig service. What we need to do next is just add one unit test, and then we push our code to GitHub.